Welcome to Funnel Hacker Radio Podcast, where we go behind the scenes and uncover the tactics and strategies top entrepreneurs are using to make more sales, dominate their markets, and how you can get those same results. Here's your host, Dave Woodward.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Funnel Hacker Radio. I'm your host, Dave Woodward. Today, you have the opportunity of hearing from a guy who's become a real good friend of mine, but most importantly, a guy who's really going to help you in your business, take your business to the next level. I want to introduce you guys to David Bayer. David.
Dave, thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
I am so appreciative of taking the time. For those of you guys who may not know David, he has a huge business and has literally an enormous career as being an entrepreneur literally for the last 20 years. He's done all sorts of crazy fun stuff. With one of my favorite things is Ducati motorcycles. My wife doesn't allow me to ride motorcycles, but because I basically have this unquenchable thirst for speed. But so I'm off the motorcycles. But I saw he kind of started off there. Most importantly, though, right now he has a membership site basically for small businesses, chamberofcommerce.com. Over 50,000 small businesses are basically learning from him on a regular basis. CEO, obviously, of David Bayer, a transformational company. It was kind of cool as I was going through some of the stuff. David, obviously, Inc. magazine rated your event, Powerful Living Experience, as one of the top 30 must-attend events for entrepreneurs. We are very passionate about entrepreneurs and small businesses, and so I wanted to bring you on the show today because today you have the ability of offering to our listeners here something that people kind of always talk about but never really know how to do, and that's kind of this whole. And you and I were joking around about it beforehand as far as the woo-woo side of being an entrepreneur, or personal development, and really trying to find a way of really quantifying how you actually can get the very most out of your mind so you can get the most out of your business. So with all that, David, anything else you want to say before we dive right into this mind hack?
Well, I think your lady's a smart lady for getting you off the bikes. We had a saying at Ducati, as much as I like bikes, there were two types of motorcycle riders, those who have been in accidents and those who will be. So I appreciate that. And no, it's a great introduction. I've been excited for us to have this conversation, Dave, because as you alluded to, personal development, mindset, transformation, I think as an aware entrepreneur, we understand the importance. We realize that what we think really does dictate our lives, but it's sort of become white noise, right? We understand that we need to change our thinking. We understand we have limiting beliefs, or maybe some of your listeners don't, and that our beliefs are driving everything in our life. But the question is, when we become aware of something that we're thinking or believing that doesn't serve us well, how do we actually change the pattern of thinking? And that's what I hope to dive into a little bit more today with you.
I love it. I love that. So the title of what I basically came across was Mind Hack, the 4 mental habits of the world's most successful entrepreneurs. And I think that's the part. First of all, I love anything that's quantifiable. I love all sorts of numbers. Primarily as a marketer, I'm just driven in making sure subtitles and titles and everything else typically have numbers because people can associate and that brings some conclusion to that. But with that said, I was really excited to kind of go through and talk to you a little bit about this whole idea as far as how did you decide this is where your passion was going to be as far as really helping people change this?
So it's a great question. I started the business I have now, a digital marketing agency called DataBank, under which we also own and operate chamberofcommerce.com. I started that business when I was 30, which was 12 years ago. And I had raised $4 million from venture capital companies. We were a leading kind of mover and shaker in the search engine optimization space early on. I very quickly built a company of 25 to 30 people. And it was at that time that I hit my early midlife crisis. So I did not know how to handle all the stress, all the anxiety, all the overwhelm. And, I share my story. I got into drug and alcohol addiction and my life had become unmanageable. I think people hit different, bumps in the road. Might be depression, might be some other bottom that they experience in their life. But for me, it was really clear that something was going on that I didn't understand that was preventing me from really living the life that I wanted to live. And through a combination of circumstances, which included starting to work a 12-step program, being at the airport one day and having that experience where a book decides it's going to develop a relationship with me off the shelf, right? I walked over to random book on Buddhism called Awakening the Buddha Within, and it just started opening my eyes to the ideas around thoughts and thinking. And I started becoming curious about, well, what are thoughts and what is thinking, and I got it. So like all of the actions that I'm exhibiting in my life are based on what I think, and that really at the foundation of everything that I was creating in my life were beliefs and thoughts. And then I found this little book, which I'm sure you're aware of, called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Of course.
And so my new addiction, I guess you could say, was understanding what was at this intersection of all of the different spiritual traditions, of what we were understanding in neuroscience, of what a lot of the personal development teachers were saying. And I sat in this question around, how can I actually change the way that I think and reverse engineer my thinking to my destiny? Because it was clear that my beliefs dictated my destiny. So I figured if I could just figure out what type of life I wanted to create and then identify where I was out of alignment with my thinking and to correct that and get into realignment, that I could create a very powerful life for myself. So I started that process. It was just a personal journey. And what I found is that as I started to change, and people noticed that I started to change, I was showing up differently in life. And so for whatever reason, people started to bring to me their own struggles, their own stresses, their own anxieties, their own overwhelms. And I started helping them, and it felt good. And it was at a time where I got really clear that I just wasn't interested in gaming search engines anymore. Like, it was fun for a while, but like I wanted my life to have more meaning. And this is an interesting time in any entrepreneur's journey, because what's sitting in front of you is this extreme uncertainty. Like, what do I do next? The thing that I've been studying for the last decade, I'm no longer interested in. I want to help people. And I looked at it and I said, God, I'm really interested in this personal evolution stuff, but like, that can't be a business. And so
honestly, I could say it's one of the things. It's one of those things I find for a lot of entrepreneurs, especially on the personal development side. It's kind of in general or any soft topic. It's really hard to create a business around a soft topic. And that's why I was really fascinated to have you on the show, is because you've created an amazing business. I mean, Inc.'s got you literally as, one of the top leaders in this industry. And I'm fascinated as far as how you actually create a business around such a soft topic as, personal development, or this concept of mind hacking.
Well, the answer is you stay in action, because the enemy of figuring it out is indecision. The enemy of figuring it out is thinking that you're somehow supposed to know what to do before you take action. So, I got this idea that I could do a one-day workshop and teach the methodology that has evolved into the training that we now teach to thousands of entrepreneurs to develop an invincible mindset. And I went and did a one-day workshop. I rented a room over at the local university. I invited some friends and friends of friends, and 26 people sat through a one-day training with me. And when I saw the transformation that took place with these people, and literally one after another coming up to me saying, that was incredible, it's changed my life forever, I realized that I needed to figure out how to make a business out of it. And really every step of the way, it was just guesswork. Well, maybe I should create an online program. I don't know. Maybe I should build a funnel. I don't know. Maybe I should learn how to speak on stages. I don't know. There was a lot of I don't know. But I think when I look backwards, the one thing that I was clear on was that I would figure it out. And that the best way to figure it out would be to just follow any type of inspiration that seemed, like it made sense. And that's what I did.
I love it. I know the very first, we've been talking about decision, and that's really the very first key to our first mind hack is the power of decision. I'd like, if you don't mind, to kind of focus on the really kind of the subcategory of that. And that's your success model about energy. I can tell you, for us, Russell and I and a lot of guys in the office are focused a lot on this whole idea as far as biohacking different things and trying to get to the highest level of energy, or to vibrate at a higher level. If you don't mind, I'd like you to kind of focus on the energy aspect tied to the power of decision.
Great. So fundamentally, everything is energy. And I actually would go a step further, and I would describe the foundational energy behind all types of energy, and I believe it's intelligence. We don't have it on the atomic chart, right? There's no intelligence element. But I believe that in order to create what you want to create in your life and your relationships and your bank account and your health and your business, it's about learning how to allow intelligence to flow through you in greater quantity. And when we do that, we feel what we would describe as energized. And so there are things that we can do to allow more intelligence to flow through us or to feel more energized. And there are things that unfortunately many of us have developed as habits that put us in a low energetic or a lower intelligence state. And in the model that we've created, there are certain concepts. So we have decisions, which we'll talk about in a moment. We have gratitude. We talk about how the questions that we ask ourselves either lend to higher or lesser levels of energy. We talk about clarity. We talk about confidence. And then once you are able to really align yourself in your decisions, your clarity, your questions, your gratitude, and your confidence, then you move into action. So what most people do, Dave, is they go out into the world with an intention. I want to create a successful business. But what's happening at an unconscious level is a bunch of beliefs that aren't in alignment with creating a successful business. Beliefs that I'm not good enough, beliefs that there's not enough time, beliefs that I don't have a formal education and I need a formal education in order to be successful in business, beliefs that other people somehow have something that we don't and that's why they're successful and we're not successful. And the body moves when we are attached to this type of thinking, when we allow these limiting beliefs to persist, it moves us into a lower energetic state. And the problem with that is that in a low energetic state, we lack clarity because clarity requires energy. So now we move into our day wanting to create a successful business in a low energetic state because of our limiting beliefs, lacking clarity. And then what happens is that we start to ask ourselves, we start to notice all the problems because it's easy to notice the problems. It's the way the brain was designed. Part of the survival mechanism of the brain is just to notice what's wrong. And it requires energy to kind of refocus ourselves around what's working. And when we put our attention on what's working, we feel good and we allow more intelligence to flow through us. And when we focus on the problems, we feel crappy and it moves us into a lower energetic state. So we start to compound these layers, right, of concepts that create low energy, limiting beliefs, lack of clarity, focusing on the problems, and then we start to ask unhealthy questions that, again, are aligned with lower energetic states, like why isn't it working out for me? What am I doing wrong? So what I learned and then ultimately what we go out to create, and we're doing a lot, at least it seems like we're doing a lot, but we're not producing a lot of results. And what we found is that the most successful people in the world, they operate differently. And they operate in sort of an inverse structure. So they understand how to transform their beliefs and align their beliefs with what they want to create. So, for example, if I woke up every morning and I wanted to create a successful business and I believed I was capable of anything, and if I believed that everything I wanted to achieve would happen as long as I put consistent effort into it, and if I believed that I was going to meet the right people and experience the right experiences that were going to help me create my successful business, I'd be in a high energetic state. So the most successful people in the world, they've aligned their beliefs with what they want to create. And then they go out into the world and they focus on what's working, which again, gratitude kind of levels up your energy. And then they have clarity because they have harnessed this extraordinary level of energy. And as a result of that, they're asking really powerful questions like, what are 3 things I could do to move my business forward today? Who are two people that I could reach out to in order to grow my business today? And the brain is like a search engine. So whatever question you ask, it's just going to give you an answer based on the question. So this is the model for the most successful people in the world. And so the question really becomes, because I'm not saying anything new here, maybe the way we organize it is a nice way to look at it. But the question becomes, well, what do we do when we've identified a limiting belief and we know that our beliefs are at the foundation of our ability to go into the world with a high level of energy and intelligence? We know that our beliefs dictate our destiny. How do we change our limiting beliefs? And that was really the question I sat in for several years. Every personal development trainer and teacher, and there are many great ones out there, they've really paved the way for this next generation of transformation, this what I like to call Mindset 2.0. Every personal development guru was saying this, but they weren't explaining how I could actually change my beliefs. Right? If I believe I'm not good enough, how do I believe that I'm an incredible, powerful creator? If I believe that money's hard to make, how all of a sudden do I start believing that money flows to me and there are tons of opportunities to easily make money? That's the question.
Well, I can tell you right now, my listeners are going to go crazy if you don't give them the answer. So,
Well,
what did you find out? How do you figure? How do you do that?
and you've read this in the Mind Hack ebook, and it's at the foundation of a lot of what we teach. What I realized after having gone through a variety of methodologies to change my beliefs, the 2 millimeter distinction, and it's really important to sit with this if you're listening, because you can miss it. But the 2 millimeter distinction is that beliefs are decisions. So yeah, maybe when you were 4 years old and you were supposed to meet your little buddy by the drinking fountain and they didn't show up, you came to the conclusion that you can't trust people. But what's happening moment by moment by moment throughout your life is you're just repeating that pattern. You're viewing life through that same lens. And you actually have the ability to respond. That's what responsibility is. You have the ability to respond when you've identified that you've got a limiting belief that isn't congruent with what you're trying to create in the world, that you can simply make a new decision. And so we have a process where we literally map out the blueprint of limiting beliefs that are holding someone back, and we facilitate making new, powerful decisions that are in alignment with what you want to create. And then there's an important third step, which is to say, well, what evidence do I have for the fact that this is true? And this is really where the brain change kicks in. So you've got evidence for the fact that you can trust people. You've got evidence for the fact that you're good enough. You've got evidence for the fact that money can actually be made easily. But that evidence is dormant in your neural networks. And so we resurface that to our conscious awareness. This is how we build new beliefs. This is how we reshape the lens through which we've been viewing the world. By going through a process of taking the time to say, what evidence do I have for the fact that I will meet the man or woman of my dreams, that I can be in an extraordinary, connected, intimate, and passionate relationship? If you sit with that long enough, you'll activate dormant neural networks that store the memories that are the evidence. And as we do that, we begin to engage in a process that we call neurosculpting. We start to prune off the old parts of your brain that represent the limiting beliefs, and we start to reactivate and build the parts of your brain that will represent the empowered pattern of thinking. That's how you change your thinking. That's how you become a different person. And then everything changes because the brain is a goal-achieving machine. It can only operate based off of what you believe. What you think is in alignment with what you believe. The way you perceive the world is in alignment with what you believe. And it's a much larger conversation, but you actually manufacture and create the coincidences in your life based on what you believe. So again, that's why your beliefs dictate your destiny. And it's by acknowledging that beliefs are decisions that you can take back your power, give yourself permission to make new decisions, and then go through this neural activating process of saying, okay, what evidence do I have for the fact that this new decision is actually true?
I love that. I can tell you that as I was reading through this, it's one of the things I really liked the most was the fact that the concept as far as your beliefs are decisions. And I know as an entrepreneur, especially when things aren't going well, it's amazing how so many of us can just fast forward and find all these reasons to support ourselves as far as why things aren't going well. I was having a conversation with a person just the other day who said, well, that doesn't work and this doesn't work and this doesn't work. I'm like, why doesn't it? And they went through as far as all these things that they had personally seen where I didn't even see those things. I'm looking at just the opposite. I've got a wall of over 142 people who've made over $1 million utilizing ClickFunnels. And so as they're sitting there telling me all these reasons why things don't work, I'm like, it was just fascinating to me because they were trying to find things to support their belief on why they should go do something different instead of pursuing their dreams.
It's a great point. And so there's two things there. One is the gift of entrepreneurship, because as entrepreneurs, we have so many interactions with other things, right? With our vendors, with technology, with our business partners, with money, right? It's like it's an extremely dynamic experience. And the best way to start to become self-aware, because people will say to me, well, Dave, I got it. Like, I'm convinced my beliefs dictate my destiny. You're giving me a little bit of an initial hack here that beliefs are decisions and a little process to start changing my brain. But if what I'm unconscious of is dictating my destiny, how do I become aware of it? Right? And the answer is pay attention to your reaction to the experiences of your life. Because your reaction is revealing to you what you believe. Because this is a really important distinction. There's no meaning in any experience. There's no meaning in any experience. So, if you look in nature, right, while squirrels are out trying to find a nut, they're not giving a meaning to it. As birds are flying for more temperate climate, they're not giving a meaning to it, right? There's just experiences in nature. Man has the unique distinction of being a meaning-making machine. And so the meaning that you give an experience is what you believe. It doesn't mean it's true. Now, what's so fascinating about this, because the brain is a goal-achieving machine, is you will perpetuate that meaning into reality. But you also have the ability to change the meaning that you give something at any point in time, and that will change your life because the brain is a goal-achieving machine.
I love it. I'm such a huge believer in that. I've seen that in my own life. I've seen it in the lives of others. I'm fortunate to have had 20 plus years as an entrepreneur. And again, that's why I love everything associated with being an entrepreneur, because as you mentioned, your exposure to so many more things is just 10 times what most people see, because you're out there making stuff happen. And I think that's just fascinates me. I'm a huge believer in the fact that the only thing that matters is the meaning that you give things. And I appreciate you mentioning that.
Yeah. So now here's, and again, you'll see in our work, there's sort of a logical step-by-step process. It begs another question. If I'm misinterpreting reality right now, if I'm giving a meaning to something that's not really true and it's limiting me in my life, the first question is, well, what is true? Right? and then the next question becomes, how do I know when I'm limiting myself? How do I know when a limiting belief is active or a pattern of thinking related to a limiting belief is active? And so here's what we've found. There are only two states of being. And I learned this from one of my spiritual teachers in India, a man named Krishnaji. So Krishnaji taught that there are only two states of being: beautiful states and suffering states. And beautiful states are states of being or emotions or feelings like joy, curiosity, excitement, compassion. Those are beautiful states of being. And suffering states of being are stress, anxiety, overwhelm, anger, jealousy, etc. Right? So from most of us in our life, no one's really provided such a clear roadmap. Beautiful states of being, suffering states of being. What's true is that we are always in one of those states of being or the other. You're either in a beautiful state or a suffering state at any point in time, and you are never in both states of being at the same time. So you're either in a beautiful state of being or a suffering state. What we've come to understand is that anytime you're in a suffering state, it's because there's some thinking taking place that's not true. And your body has been designed so intelligently with an emotional guidance system that it moves into a suffering state as a result of you aligning your thinking with something that's not true. So anytime you move into a suffering state, the only cause of it is your own thinking. And again, this is a larger conversation, Dave. I'm just laying out some powerful distinctions for your people. The only cause of suffering is your own thinking. It's not in an experience. It's in the meaning you're giving an experience. And if the meaning you're giving an experience doesn't feel good, meaning it's moving you into a suffering, it's not true. You've misinterpreted what's going on in reality. Now, some people will say, well, how could that be? Well, because the truth is that on a moment-by-moment basis, life is always working for your best growth, your best prosperity, your best evolution, your best life. Now, there's some twists and turns in that journey, and so sometimes we misinterpret the twist and turn.
Sure.
And we move into a suffering state. So this beautiful suffering state concept becomes a compass for people to go, where am I right now? Like, am I in alignment with my thinking or am I out of alignment with my thinking? And then again, we have some very powerful, very practical, very efficient processes for helping people move out of a suffering state back into a beautiful state, which is where all your power is, all your creativity, all your inspiration, all your intuition, all of your ability to move forward in a powerful way, to have what we call a powerful living experience. It comes from a beautiful state. So the name of this game, and this is what we teach entrepreneurs, but in my opinion, it's not just the name of the game of entrepreneurship, it's the name of the game of life, is to notice when you've moved into a suffering state and to have the tools and do the work to move back into a beautiful state where you're aligned with the truth and where you can become a phenomenon in your life.
I love that. I love that. I could say, gosh, man, I I wish we had more time.
I
Because
do too. But again, I want listeners to see this is the next evolution of transformation. It's a step-by-step process to know where you are at any point in time and the tools to become powerful in your thinking and to actually transform your thinking. This is very different than 20, 30, 40 years ago, when we were just being taught cliches really, right?
sure.
About be positive or focus on what's working, and like how is that working? I mean, I'm not the first person to talk about personal development to your audience. I may be the first person to provide a step-by-step process for living your life powerfully, and that's what I think we're looking into with this next evolution of personal development, which is super exciting.
I think it's again, that's I love the whole idea as far as it's much more transformational. There's much it's a much more tangible process of tapping into this whole woo-woo type of thing, people have talked about for years as far as, positive thinking. It's so much deeper than that. But I appreciate all of those who have started this whole concept, over 100 years ago type of stuff.
Of
But I think
course.
where you're at now and where we as people and as entrepreneurs need to go is directly in line with what you're teaching. I think that's why you're having the success that you're having. And I congratulate you again on all the success that you're having.
Well, thank you. It's a great point. I mean, we're early on, but in the last 18 months, as you know, we've gone from 0 to $3 million, helping people change the way that they think. And when people say, "How did you do it?" My answer is, well, I eat my own dog food, right? I mean, yes, there are tactics and strategies that are important. There are technologies like ClickFunnels that are imperative. I mean, we wouldn't be able to do anything that we're doing right now in today's world and reach the number of people we're reaching without something like ClickFunnels. But at the end of the day, to your point, you can talk to two people who have ClickFunnels. One of them is a 2 comma member like us, and another person is saying, well, this stuff doesn't work. And what's the difference between the two? I would suggest it's the meaning that they're giving the experiences in their life.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Well, David, as we get kind of close to wrapping things up, first of all, I want to make sure people need to get what you gave to me. How do they get it? So first of all, where do we send people?
Yeah, so people can visit our website at davidbayer.com. It's David, Bayer, just like the aspirin.com. And on our website, we have a download of the Mind Hack ebook that Dave's been referencing and 3 videos. And then the website for our annual event is powerfullivingexperience.com. And you can go there and check out the dates. And we would love for you to start off your year with 3 days of really getting your mindset right so that you can have your best year ever.
I love it. And guys, I'd really recommend that you go ahead and check out davidbayer.com and actually look at the funnel that he's using and the content, but also the congruency that exists between the message that is being delivered. It's not just a quick opt-in and here we're going to send you some stuff because we want to market you real heavy later. It's the value that they give to the audience is what really helps kind of segment the audience as to those people who they know they can help versus those people who are just looking for a freebie. And so I'd highly recommend you guys take a look at the funnel, go through it, subscribe to it, and just follow through the sequencing because, David, your sequence is great. And I love what you guys have done to really, first of all, provide an immense amount of value to people. But then at the same time, it's enough for a person to kind of whet their appetite where they're going, you know what, I need more of David. And how do I get more? And you guys are right there following up, which I think is fantastic. So
Well,
again,
I appreciate that, and I will pass the compliment on to the team who's worked very, very hard to construct that.
Fantastic. So again, everyone, it's at davidbayer.com, davidbayer.com, and go ahead and take a look at it. Again, I totally agree with, and I've seen in my own personal life how important it is. The meaning that you give your experiences is what literally will give you the energy that you need in your life. And we barely even touched on we didn't even get to even halfway through the very first one of the 4 mind hacks. So
No,
you guys got to go through it, take a look at it. Again, David, thank you so very much for your time. I appreciate any parting words you want to leave with our audience.
Yeah, I mean, the parting word that I would leave is for those of you who are serious about really creating the vision you have for your life and making an impact in the world and creating an extraordinary business and a life for you and your family and your loved ones, there's a point in time where you decide that you're going to put mindset first. If you listen to every great, person that we look up to. They didn't say, listen, my whole life changed when I launched my podcast, as great as podcasts are. Dave and I both have podcasts. They didn't say my life completely changed when I wrote my book. They didn't say my life completely changed. And every single person will reference an event, a coach, something where they started to get into this personal development conversation and change the way that they think. And so it doesn't have to be me, but to the extent that you want to be powerful in your life and you want to be a phenomenon, this is the pathway to get there. And Dave, thank you and Russell and the ClickFunnels team for just doing what you do in the world so that we can do what we do in the world. We truly appreciate you guys.
My pleasure. Thanks again, David. We'll talk to you real soon.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks for listening to Funnel Hacker Radio Podcast. If you'd like to be notified anytime we release a new episode, just subscribe over at funnelhackerradio.com. In addition to that, we'd love to send you a free gift. You can find that free gift at funnelhackerradio.com/free trial. One last thing is we love giving away cars. So if you'd like access to a free dream car, all you have to do is go to funnelhackerradio.com/dream car and you'll get all the details. Thanks again for listening.